Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, Independent Stamping Up Demonstrator. I have a festive birthday card for you today using the Blow Out the Candles bundle that you can find in the annual catalog. Really fun birthday images here. Candles, the cake. You can do some two-step stamping and put the color in the image here with the pedestal and the cake. You've got the balloon also that you can two-step stamp, and this great big sentiment happy birthday. So it comes bundled with the candles and confetti framelits. Now this is really cool because it can cut out the candles and the pedestal and the cake and the balloon. It has this really neat confetti that's going to cut out the top of our card here. And then it also has this piece in here that kind of looks like a razor blade, but actually this piece here can be put at the top of a piece of paper you cut, and then you put this at the top and it cuts out a tag with a little hole for you to put the ribbon or the twine through. So that's a really cool addition to the candles and confetti framelits, in addition to the images it cuts out. So as you can see on this card, we used a color palette of Bermuda Bay, Granny Apple Green, and Lovely Lipstick. Beautiful colors to make a festive palette on this card. So to get started, I'm going to show you the card stock we're going to use. The Bermuda Bay is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and that's just a half a sheet of your cardstock. Don't worry about writing down the measurements or the materials I use because they'll be on the blog post for this card. So you've got your base there, and then the next thing we did is put the Lovely Lipstick bordered by the Bermuda Bay, and that is 4 by 5 1/4, and then the next sheet is 3 3/4 by 5. Now you're going to need 2 pieces of the white 3 3/4 by 5 and 2 pieces of the Lovely Lipstick that is 4 by 5 1/4, because we're going to take the inside of the card and make it like the outside of the card. Okay, so to get started, we want to talk about this stamp. Well, no, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, we're going to take your 3 3/4 by 5 inch panel on both of them, and this die fits exactly right in 3 3/4. So you'll put it onto your white paper, run it through your Big Shot using your your die cutting sandwich, and then you will have these beautiful little confetti circles and stars cut out. So you're going to do that twice because you need it for the outside and the inside of the card. Then we're going to use our Stamparatus to do our hinge stamping on the front of the card, because when you're going to stamp this, even though it's photopolymer and you can see it, if you want it to be nice and straight and uniform, the Stamparatus is there to do the job for you. So what we're going to do is use, where is my piece of that oh my goodness gracious. Oh, there it is. Haha. So I already started out the first one here. So you'll put your piece of paper in there and you'll see I already started out the Bermuda Bay. Now you'll ask, why do I have that done already? Because I did it and then I set it aside and I said, why cut it out again? So I just inked this portion up here with the Bermuda Bay, and I did my first step. Now don't do it on your first piece of paper. Use a piece of scratch paper till you can see that you have the steps exactly the way you want them. So I did Bermuda Bay, and then the next color I did on the card was the Lovely Lipstick. Oh, and I don't want to forget to tell you that I was inspired to make this card by a card that Sarah Fleming had posted, and her card had the happy birthday stamped with Lovely Lipstick, and it also had this beautiful graceful glass vellum on it, and I just could not get it out of my head, so I designed my card a little different from hers, but definitely inspired by Sarah's card. So what we do next is we are going to hinge. So we're going to lift up our plate and go down one hinge, one step, and that's the awesome thing about this Stamparatus, how you can do hinge stamping. So I'm just going to get the Lovely Lipstick adhered ink onto my stamp. And then I have this. Now you'll notice my magnet here is not the same size as the other magnet. That's because he decided to get together with this guy and there was a big fight and into two pieces, but I can still use this piece. I'm probably going to wrap it in some washi tape though on that edge. But we're going to now do the lovely lipstick, and we just press down firmly with the photopolymer there. And then we just lift it up. And see, I have a little edge right there, so no fear on that. I just ink up right where I missed. And then sometimes I have to stand up. And sometimes right along that hinge, you just have to give a little more pressure on that edge. So there we go. We've got the Happy Birthday and Lovely lipstick. And your colors do lighten as they dry. So sometimes when you're making a card, you're like, oh my gosh, that doesn't match Lovely lipstick paper, but it will end up lightening. So one thing you got to be careful with when you're doing hinge stamping, if you're changing colors, is make sure you clean off your stamp before you go into the next stamp pad. Especially you wouldn't want to get Lovely lipstick in your beautiful Granny Apple Green. New ink pad, so you just hinge it here, open it up completely, and then slide it. And then we're just going to ink up with the Granny Apple Green. And then we're going to hinge it down another step, because you'll know if you go down and it's in the same place, you haven't hinged yet. So we're going to do that hinge, and we've got it in place, and we're going to do the Granny Apple Green. You also notice photopolymers will stain with dark colors, especially your reds and dark pinks, but it doesn't hurt the stamp. It just dyes the stamp. So there we go, and we've got our Granny Apple Green. And now see, I didn't give enough pressure at the top there. This isn't the Stamparatus's fault, it's my fault, because I'm not giving it enough pressure because I'm on a different angle when I'm videoing a card. So there we go. We've got our Granny Apple Green. So now we have these, and look how pretty they look because they're all uniformly straight in a good pattern there. So now we're just going to take our magnets, keep them away from each other. We're going to lift this panel away. I'm going to put my hinge back. I'm going to wipe off my sentiment there so I don't forget and put it down. Then I'm going to put my Stamparatus aside. So now we have the front of the card done. There you can see. So why don't we go ahead and adhere this to the lovely lipstick. I keep getting little dimensionals onto my snail. So I'm just going to put some snail on the card. And another thing too, because there's all these little confettis on here, you're going to want to put just a couple little dollops of Tombow right scattered a little bit through the confetti. Come on, little guy. Oop. And then just get just a few little dollops of some Tombow glue on the confetti. And then we're just going to center it on our lovely lipstick, and then you can see how pretty the lovely lipstick comes through the holes on the confetti, and it gives that color to the card. And then we'll just go ahead and adhere it to our card base. Flip it over and get some snail on here. Okay, and then we're going to adhere it to the front of our Bermuda Bay card base, giving a nice 1/8 inch border all around. So we've got that front part done. Now we have to work on this focal image. So what I did is I used my Memento Black. Let's get this Granny Apple Green. Remember, when you're closing these, bring them the whole way out. If you're here and then you try to hinge it, you're going to break your ink pads. So bring it the whole way out, hinge it down. Okay, and we're also going to lose that die if I don't put it away. So what I did is I used Memento Black because I was going to be using the stamping blends to do my coloring. So I stamped the cake and the pedestal in Memento Black, and I die cut them with the dies, and then I just did some coloring on there. I used my lovely lipstick, and normally I would die cut them after I color them because then I have more paper to hold on to when I'm doing the coloring, but I wanted to have them already cut out here for the video. So you just do some gentle, light, very light pressure. I like to use the brush end when I'm coloring. I feel like I have more control over what I'm doing just using that tiny tip on the brush. So you just, I find that turning the paper gives me a better view of what I'm coloring. So there we go. We've got the lovely lipstick on the pedestal, and then I chose to do the bottom part of the cake in Granny Apple Green. And once again, using that brush tip, it just slides across the paper just so beautifully. And like I said, you just barely have to touch the paper, just barely touching. It's not like when you see a little kid pick up a marker and just start doing it like as hard as they possibly can on the paper. Though I have to say, I've seen some of my girls get a little excited about it and start. So nice thing about these two is they don't streak. And if they do leave any bit of a streak, it actually looks like you wanted it to be that way with shading. So there we've got the bottom part done. And then we just take our other color that we chose, and that's Bermuda Bay. And so I'm just going to do the Bermuda Bay up at the top of the cake. Speaking of cakes, I made an awesome carrot cake on Sunday. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So I'll have to post the site I got it off of because it really was so easy and it was delicious. My husband said if he was in a restaurant, that's what he would order. It was the best. So there we go. We have got our cake all decorated. So let's take and put a little bit of snail on the bottom of the cake, then fold it back, and then we're going to lay it onto the pedestal. So there we've got our image there. And then I used my layering ovals to cut out the graceful glass vellum. Like I said, Sarah had it on this geometric design, and I just loved it. And then I used the stitched shapes framelets to do the Granny Apple oval that we are going to put on put the graceful glass vellum on. So it fits right in there very nicely. And then we're just going to pop up the, where's my dimensionals? There they are. We're going to pop up. And notice here that you can always see the alcohol ink coming through on your markers. So always keep that in mind whenever you're making a card. You can't color on something if you're going to see the back of it. So then you can just put your cake. You can line it up along this horizon line you want, or it can just go on any way you would like it to be, but just kind of have the lines going straight at some point. So now we just have to pop that onto, oops, stuck there, onto our card here. So I just, oh, I used dimensionals to do that. Haha, dimensional, 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 and dimensional. And then we'll just get those guys off of there. And we'll put it down towards the bottom right of the card so that we can see the happy birthday. Now, we have some dimension on this card because we popped up the cake and we popped up the oval, which looks kind of crooked to me here. So let me see if I can fix that. Nah, we'll just leave it that way. So the cake's that way. So it looked a little plain to me, but I a little bit here was a little too much white space, so I said, oh, I'll just put some kind of embellishment on there. So what I did is I just took my pearls and I took the blunt end. Don't use the feathery, the brush tip. Use the blunt end here. It's stronger and more compact, and I just colored in my pearls. You can color rhinestones, you can color pearls, you can color vellum really pretty with these alcohol blends. So don't use the brush side because you'll make that tip get dull and frayed. So use the blunt end, and I just colored Granny Apple Green, Lovely Lipstick, in the Bermuda Bay. And then I could just scatter those on my card. I just used my paper piercer, but thankfully we now have our Picket tool. And then I just stuck a Lovely Lipstick one there, and then I took a Bermuda Bay one and put it down there in the bottom. So that just gave some more festiveness to the card. So inside, it just was crying out to be the same as the outside. So what we're gonna do is first of all, I had put it this way, and then I decided, oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and put a Lovely Lipstick behind it so that you can see the three colors. So let's just do that. Whoop. Okay, so once again, we'll just put some, you know what, before we put that in there, just because we're gonna stamp on the inside, you know, did you ever finish off the card and then you have a mistake? So let's just go ahead and do our stamping. So I'm gonna bring out the balloon that is in the set and use my Memento Black. So I'm going to ink up the balloon. I think, oh, that's adhesive on here. I need to get this adhesive off. Let me see if I have my adhesive remover handy. I thought it was ink that I got on there, but it's adhesive. I can deal with that. Okay, so ink up that balloon with Memento Black because we're using the alcohol markers and we don't want to have them bleed. So then I'm going to stamp the balloon in Memento Black, and then I'm going to stamp another one. Put the other one here on the side. And then I'm just going to take my alcohol markers and I'm going to color in the balloons. And here we go. Just going to go in the inside of the black. The nice thing about this too is if you do a little bit more, look how it looks like it's got that reflection on there. And let's see what it would look. No, we have to put Granny Apple Green in here because we're gonna have the Lovely Lipstick and the Bermuda Bay and the cardstock. So we got to get our green in there. So I'm just get that little bit of the balloon at the bottom, which I didn't do with the Lovely Lipstick, so I'll have to go back and do that. So then just and I just did a little extra coloring on that because it just made a nice reflection. And then I'm just going to go back and do the bottom of the balloon. Okay, so now we'll just adhere this to the Lovely Lipstick. And over here. Okay, and then a little bit of Tombow on this. A little bit of Tombow on the confetti. There we go. Put a little bit scattered here and there. And I happened to see a little piece of the confetti that was left there, the hanging Chad. Oh gosh. Okay, so we are going to put that inside panel on the lovely lipstick, and then just put that on the inside of our card, which is up here, way far away. And there we go. We've got our lovely lipstick inside our Bermuda Bay. But I can't seem to get it level here. There we go. No, we don't go. I always do it this way, so just why was I doing it the other way? There we go. So now we have the inside of the card that looks like the outside of the card. Now, isn't that just a festive birthday card? Hinge stamping using our Stamparatus, beautiful colors, great designer vellum there. So if you have any questions about how to make this card, or the colors or the materials or the products I use, just go to my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com. You'll find all the information and the measurements there. Thanks for stopping by, friends.